What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Pep Talk, where myself, Mr. Tony Stark, and my lovely assistant,
Pepper Potts,
we talk about things that she wants to talk about over some of her gameplay. What you're watching in the background is some Halo, because she doesn't play Call of Duty too much these days. If you watched one of the previous episodes, we talked about that a little bit, and you would have gotten a little bit of a feel for that. This week, we're going to be talking about pet peeves in the workplace. And she has a lot of stories and experience working in
a restaurant.
Yeah, the food industry specifically. I'm gonna stay out of it because I already had a series on my channel about different things from sales. But why don't you just get started? She's just gonna tell you all the things that she hates, and it's gonna sound like she's really mean.
Well, first of all, I worked in food industry for probably about 8 years, and for the past maybe the past year, I've been kind of filling in at my old job. For the first 2 years, I was a hostess and a bus girl, and then I moved on to waitressing. Now that's where you really get the nice people, right? So one of my biggest pet peeves is when I go up to a table and try to introduce myself, and I'm interrupted with, "What's this? Can I have this? Can you do this? Okay. That's fine." And then 5 minutes later, they're like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Well, if you would have let me introduce myself, you might have found out." That just puts me in a bad mood to start.
So, I mean, if they're going to be rude to them, why not be rude back?
I don't get a tip. I mean...
So if the people are like that, they don't leave good tips anyway?
Well, I usually get, like, pretty good tips, but that's another thing. Tips. You want to leave your server a good tip. You don't know what kind of day they're having. If they're like standing in the corner picking their nose, I mean, yeah, maybe don't leave them a good tip. But you have no idea what's going on in the kitchen. Nothing.
You can't blame everything that happens on the server either.
No.
Unless him or her is just blatantly terrible.
Exactly.
Right.
Which I wasn't. I was a boss.
I could see that.
And that leads me kind of into other things that have to do with tipping. I've had people leave me tracts. I actually had a guy hand me a New Testament Bible, and I was like, he was like trying to explain it to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. You're right. Let's see. What was another one I was talking about?
You said you got a poinsettia.
Oh, yeah, someone gave me a poinsettia. I mean, that was kind of cool, but what am I going to do with a poinsettia?
Yeah, what are you going to do with a plant at work? Oh, thanks. Let me just go plant this outside.
Yeah, I mean, people give you weird things. And verbal tippers, here's $1 per person, but you are wonderful. No, it's not like I make $3.50 an hour or anything.
No, get the feed.
Well, not yet.
Right. I mean, so it's justifiable anyway. Yeah. What else? I mean, there's I know there's just tons of things you're always telling me about, just ridiculous things that happen. Yeah.
It's like kind of overwhelming. People are just so mean. Like, just really, I had a guy make me cry once, which I'm not somebody who's just gonna like burst out in tears, but I was like slammed because I had the biggest section, and then they asked me to, well, they didn't really ask me, they told me to take another table because everyone else was busy, but it was in someone else's section, so I think I had a 16 and probably 2 4s, and then they asked me to take like this 8, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go ahead and get right on that. And when we're that full, we don't have trays, we don't have stuff to take out, like we're running out of things, and I didn't have one thing, and this guy goes, he like snapped at me, and I kind of just like walked away and came back, and the rest of the table could see I was like clearly upset and had been crying, and they were like, oh, it's okay, and I looked at them and I'm like, no, it is not okay for him to talk to me like that.
Yeah,
it's just
rough.
People are mean. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
Well, when people go out and they're being waited on, they expect, because they're paying, they deserve everything right then and there. They have no concern with anyone else at that moment.
Well, I'm not going to want to give them good service if they're going to be rude to me.
You spit in their food.
No, I've never done that.
Spit in their eggs.
We don't have eggs.
I'd spit in their eggs.
I think that's happened before, though.
Peed in the snow and then used the snow as ice.
No.
Maybe.
And I guess kind of another pet peeve in the workplace is sometimes the people you work with. And constantly we would run out of things, and I would have to, of course, go fill it up because I needed it. Wouldn't be there, that sort of thing.
Relying on no one else but yourself.
Gotta be a boss.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if anyone else has restaurant stories, because
I'm sure Wendy does.
Yeah, I mean, I know that a lot of people just have either restaurant stories from working or from being in there and having a bad server, having bad experiences?
Well,
Be curious.
we even we've
Sure.
had bad servers, but I'm extra like, I think I'm extra.
You're extra nice because you've
Well,
worked
I
in it.
understand. I'm like, okay, well, what's going on in this person's day that they're not being super nice, or
They're
not.
just a bad server.
They
It's
could be, but
possible.
you can't just assume that right off the bat. You have to give the person the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
So.
I get it. If you guys have any pet peeves or experiences from the restaurant and food industry, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Hope you enjoyed another episode of the Weekly Pep Talk, this series where we talk about nothing over gameplay, just like every one of my other videos. If you did like the video, feel free to click the like button in the
Having issues today.
in the section below and all that kind of good stuff. But until next week, we'll see ya.
Peace.
I am Iron Man. Somebody just